Great to see you again. I'm Mark Lindsay, and thank you for checking out Thriftin Vinyl with Mark. I don't know how many of these episodes I'm going to be doing. I don't know if they're intended to be weekly or bi-weekly, maybe 3 times a month going forward. But so far they've been done on a weekly basis because, quite frankly, I've had weekly success. But today's episode will probably be the biggest episode I've done yet. It was the biggest I've done yet. It's the biggest I'm probably going to end up doing. And I'm going to be breaking it into 2 parts. I have been doing these videos the week after. So I've been listening to the vinyl, going out with my wife Christine as we do thrifting and antique shopping and everything in between. And I've been listening to the vinyl, just getting back into that feeling of nostalgia. And I've been kind of working with, getting a nice little pile. I mean, every episode, this is the 3rd episode I'm doing. I've had anywhere from like 5 to 10 or so. Today's episode is going to feature about 50, maybe more, probably 60. So we're going to break this down into 2 because I don't want to talk your ears off for 30 minutes about vinyl. So I'm going to break it into 2. Last week, which was some great flea market and thrift store finds, and then this past Saturday, I'm recording this on Memorial Day night, so it'll probably be posted on Wednesday after I edit it. So last week's going to be part 1, and then this past Saturday is too good to pass up, so I'm going to do part 2, going over the stuff that I purchased on Saturday. So without further ado, let's dive right in. But before we do that, please take a second, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a penny, but it would mean the world to me. So it's a win-win. You're helping the brother out. Let's dive right in. We're going to start at our local thrift store where I found 2 80s vinyl records. This is the place where I found the Missing Persons and the Robert Palmer Didn't Mean to Turn You On single that was shown in episode 1. And we're going to start off with a 5-song single of The Jam and the Bittersweet Pill. The Jam may be known to some of you for their song Town Called Malice. This was priced at $7. The 5-song single includes their cover of the Edwin Starr hit War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. But the Bittersweet Pill reached a peak of number 2 in the UK in October of '82, but it did not do well at all here in the States. Next up was a great one. In fact, we're going to go back to the 2nd episode I did, okay, with fancy technology and video editing skills. We all know Simple Minds, or you all know Simple Minds, from the Breakfast Club soundtrack and their hit song, Don't You Forget About Me. But this album really solidified Simple Minds as a big deal here, especially here in the States. Okay. Yes, I found the 12-inch single for Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me. This is the song that everybody knows Simple Minds for anyway, so why not buy the single? This is the long version, okay? This song clocks in at over 7 minutes long, so it's phenomenal. It is Simple Minds in their best. So between this and their album from '85, I am a very happy camper playing Simple Minds, and Christine, she loves it too. Absolutely loves it. Huge. This may be one of my favorite purchases that I've made since I got back into vinyl less than a month ago. Can you believe it? It was less than a month ago. Next up was a Goodwill outlet store. For those of you who have never had the pleasure of going to a Goodwill outlet store, let's just say it's not for everyone. It's typically the place that things just get dumped at, and they put it in these large blue bins that line up an entire warehouse floor, and you just go through it, and there's no rhyme or reason to what's in these bins. But you may strike gold, like Wings, Band on the Run. This album, of course, features Band on the Run and Jet. Also, to fit in my 80s motif, how about Lionel Richie's self-titled debut album, Lionel Richie? This album features 3 top 20 hits, including the #1 chart topper Truly. The Billboard Top 40 hit, You Are. And of course, the number 5 hit, this was in, I think, 1982, My Love. So this was Lionel Richie's first solo album from the Commodores. He did it, I guess, as a favor to, I'm going to say Quincy Jones, or he did it to as a favor to his record label with a debut album. And then, of course, he just had a skyrocketed solo career. But, of course, Band on the Run, I mean, Christine loves Paul McCartney. We saw Paul McCartney in concert a few years ago. I think he's all right. Yeah, again, he's like Johnny Cash, you know. He's okay. I won't turn him off. But I don't know. I was always a George Harrison guy myself for the Beatles, so who knows. But here's the kicker. These 2 albums were found in the bins for 25 cents each. Oh, I mean, talk about thrifting for vinyl and doing it with a budget. I mean, it was worth it going through all those dumpsters. Again, if you've ever had the pleasure of doing it, you know what I'm talking about. We hit up a Goodwill store that was very close by. The actual store that the stuff that went to that outlet went to actually went to the store, and it was located in the suburbs of southern Jersey. And it was full of stuff that, again, polka, the waltz, Bible music, spoken word, everything that you don't want to listen to on vinyl was in this store. It was just stuff that I had to dig through everything. There was shelves and shelves of vinyl. But finally, I was able to find K-Tel Records' top 20 hits from 1974. Now, it's not the top 20 hits. It's original hits from originals, but it came out in 1974. So K-Tel did these things where they would have a bunch of various artists, and that was a great way of listening to a hits album, so to speak, without having to buy each individual record. Collectors will tell you that there is little value for these. So in my world, I'm going to grab them every time I see them. There are not many songs on here that I know, but there are a few. Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive. I Shot the Sheriff by Eric Clapton. Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo by one Rick Derringer. Of course, some of you watching this video may know Rick Derringer, as he recorded and wrote one of the most famous wrestling theme songs of all time. And I'm not talking about Jive Soul Bro. How about the theme song for Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, a theme song that was so good that some bald-headed blonde jabroni world champion stole it and made it his? Of course, I'm talking about Real American. Next up was Scritti Politti and their song, A Perfect Way. This was a single. The song reached a peak of number 11 in the Hot 100 U.S. charts in the summer of 1986, and a peak of number 6 in the dance charts. So, again, I find these singles from the 80s, I'm picking them up. It's no problem for me. Also, we had the Best of the Beach Boys Volume 2. During their run, the Beach Boys had 4 number 1 hits. 2 of them were on this album, with Help Me Rhonda and, let's see, what's the other one? Help Me Rhonda and I Get Around were the 2 number 1 hits on this album. But this album also has California Girls, Surfin' Safari, the Christmas song, Little Saint Nick. And, you know, as we approach summertime, it's Memorial Day when I'm recording this, the Beach Boys, just in time for the summer, getting me in that 80s nostalgia spirit. The next album, though, was the last find at this thrift store, and it was the steal. In fact, it's still in its wrapper with Sam Goody, priced $5.49 on it, with the plastic. I'm probably going to end up taking off. And that is one Billy Joel, 52nd Street. This album has some really cool history behind it. If you're not one of the many Billy Joel fans out there, it's kind of hard to believe, but because this album was, I think, his 5th or 6th studio album, but it was the first of 4 which would top the Billboard charts. In fact, it topped the Billboard charts for 3 years. Well, it was in the Billboard 100 for 3 years. It was in the tops for, I think, 80 or 81. But 3 songs broke the top 20 on this album. It was Honesty, which would reach, I believe, number 20 in the fall of 1980. Big Shot, which reached number 14 in the summer of 79. And My Life, which peaked at number 3 in February of 1979. Of course, I was introduced to My Life as the theme song to the Tom Hanks show Bosom Buddies. This album won the 1980 Grammy for Album of the Year. And here's another interesting nugget. This album was one of the very first commercially released on CD in 1982 with that new modern format. Next up are some purchases I made on Mercari. These were 3 for $32 with free shipping. So I consider that a thrifting, 3 for $32, $10 each, it's not bad. First up is ELO with their album Olay, which is more or less a greatest hits up until this point, which came out in the, 1974. So this is basically, again, a greatest hits up to this point. Songs featured on it are Strange Magic, Evil Woman, Roll Over Beethoven, Showdown, and of course the Overture, which great songs, great album. Christine and I are big ELO fans, and that was a no-brainer to pick up. Next up was one of my favorite bands, especially during this new wave kick that I'm on, and that's ABC with Lexicon of Love. And this person who owned it must have been Heyman, or Heyman, maybe Paul Heyman, a young Paul Heyman, Paulie Dangerously owned this record, who knows. But 4 of ABC's top songs of their band's existence are on this album. It's their debut album. All of My Heart, Tears Are Not Enough, of course, The Look of Love. And for all of you Grand Theft Auto Vice City players out there, you can't play that game without loving and listening to Poison Arrow. In my opinion, the greatest ABC song of all time. These guys were way ahead of their time. They had a few albums in the 80s, but absolutely phenomenal. And the last record I purchased on Mercari was John Cougar Mellencamp's The album has 3 top 20 hits on it, including the first song, Crumbling Down, which reached number 9 on the Billboard charts in, I think it was the fall or winter of 83. Pink Houses, the second song, reached number 8 on the Billboard Top 40 in February of 84. Authority Song, very next song, reached a peak of number 15 in April of 84. But my personal favorite is the second song on side 2, which is Play Guitar. Just a great song, great album, plays flawlessly. John Cougar Mellencamp. Next up was another Goodwill store in the suburbs. Let's see here. This was a pretty good store as well. I purchased a couple 45 singles, including Breakfast Club and their hit song, Right on Track. This song would peak number 7 in May of 1987. So not bad. Plays phenomenally, flawlessly. Next up was a 45 of Stevie Wonder and his smash hit, Part-Time Lover. This has the instrumental as well on the B-side. This song would actually reach number 1 in September of 1985. So a great song. And I love the clip in between, for the adapter. That's pretty cool. And the third 45 I picked up is one of my favorite artists, again, from the 80s. Another new wave, superior artist, if you ask me, Hojo, Howard Jones, and his song, No One Is to Blame. The song reached number 4 in the Billboard Top 100 and number 1 on the Adult Contemporary chart. The B-side, which is Life in One Day, would also have some pretty decent success. That reached number 19 on the Billboard Top 100 and number 14 on the Adult Contemporary charts. Next up is a 12-inch single of my girl Donna Summer with her hit, Hot Stuff. This album also has probably one of her, if not her most famous song on as the B-side, and that's Bad Girls. So Hot Stuff is my favorite. It's my favorite Donna Summer song of all time, but it's probably one of my favorite disco songs of all time as well. It hit number 1 in the Billboard Top 100 in the spring of '79. You know, I was a wee little lad back then. And of course, Bad Girls spent 5 weeks at number 1 in August of 1979. So if you're going to have a Donna Summer single album, you're going to have 2 of her top hits right here with Bad Girls and Hot Stuff. And the final album that I found at the thrift store was the album by Swing Out Sister, It's Better to Travel. I mean, so many people don't know Swing Out Sister. That's fine, you know. They had their, probably their most popular song was the song called Breakout, which is the first song on the album. Now, I listened to this all the way through. The song sounds amazing, or the vinyl sounds amazing. Breakout's their top hit, their most famous hit. That reached a peak of number 7 in the Billboard Top 100 and number 1 in the adult contemporary charts in 1987. But entire side 1, all the way through Surrender, is absolutely amazing. I have not listened to the second side yet, but side 1 through 5, every song was great. And I'll tell you what, Swing Out Sister is somebody that you know for their top hit, but really some good underrated stuff here. I also ended up at the one and only, the world famous Berlin Mart in Berlin, New Jersey. And I'm going to post this guy's business card right over my fat dome. John over at John's Trains, I believe. John's Trains. The business card is upstairs. I purchased 4 vinyls from him for $40. And I'll tell you what, when you see what I got, you're going to want to give this guy a call or reach out to him. What he does the estate sale thing, where he'll go to people's houses, buy up everything, and then, of course, sell it on the flea market. I purchased the 1981 album by Stevie Nicks, Belladonna. Now, it didn't have the outer cover, but the inner cover, which is holding the vinyl, is in amazing shape. So I'm very careful with that. What I'm going to have to do is go to a print store like Office Depot or such and print up on cardstock so I can print up the vinyl outer cover for that. That album, I didn't want to hold it too much, but has a lot of good songs on it. It's her solo debut album, and it spent 3 years in the top 100 Billboard albums from 1981 through 1984. It had 4 top 40 hits. I'm drawing a blank. I know one of them was a song that I never heard of. It was in like the top 30. But Edge of 17 was on that album. That peaked at number 11 in 1982. Leather and Lace, which was a duet with Don Henley of the Eagles, peaked at number 6 in 1981. And my favorite song from the album, Stop Dragging My Heart Around with Tom Petty, peaked number 3 in 1981. The album, again, only came with the inner jacket, so I'm going to have to print the outer jacket. There's online templates for that stuff, so who knows, and somewhere a collector's watching this video going, ew, you're going to print a jacket? You're damn right I am. Next up is Bruce Springsteen with one of his best albums of all time, Born to Run. Without a doubt, some of my favorite Bruce Springsteen songs are on this album. I mean, it's a who's who. Thunder Road, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Backstreets, Born to Run, Jungle Land. Jungle Land, it's phenomenal. This album plays flawlessly, and somebody liked it because the previous owner stuck all this double-sided phone tape to hang it on their wall. Next up was a timely purchase for me, as I had seen these guys in concert on the 20th, and that is The Who with Who's Next. I told you Who, it's The Who. I can't single out any of these songs either because this entire album is phenomenal. You're talking Bob O'Reilly, Bargain, Love Ain't For Keeping, Song Is Over, Getting in Tune, Going Mobile, Behind Blue Eyes, Won't Get Fooled Again. I mean, you're talking amazing stuff from The Who. And if you don't believe me, just ask Jason Marsh. He was very happy at that show. And then we ended the flea market, and we're going to end this part one of the video with probably one of the greatest albums of the entire decade, and that is Michael Jackson's Thriller. You know, check this out. You know, Michael Jackson with his tiger cub. I don't know, whatever. I mean, what else could be said about this album? 7 singles were released, including The Girl Is Mine, which is a duet with Paul McCartney, Billie Jean, Beat It, Human Nature, Pretty Young Thing, PYT, Thriller. I mean, you're talking all of those songs I just named. Oh, and Wanna Be Starting Something. All reached in the top 10 in the Billboard 100 charts at some point during this album's release. It set the record for the most top 10 singles on a single album, which may have been beaten since, but we're talking 1982. So that set a record in 1982 for most top 10 singles on an album with 10. Beat It and Billie Jean actually reached number 1. So again, if you're going to own anything of Michael Jackson, it has to be Thriller. That's going to do it for part 1 of this episode. Thrifting Vinyl with Mark. Excuse the bikes. I live on the boulevard and it's a holiday. Which one of those was your favorite? Leave a comment below because I love the engagement and the conversation. It's been fun. And I want to thank you all for watching. I didn't want to make this a 1 hour show because this is probably going to be somewhere in the 20-minute time frame. But wait until you see what I have next. I have some good stuff. I'm just gonna hit stop. I'm gonna start all over again, and I'm gonna release this tomorrow. By the time you see this will be tomorrow's video. So thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves, and let's be careful out there, okay? I'll see you in a little bit.